So there's more calls to remove Pete Hegseth, either fire the guy or have him resign. I want to go over what's going on. Let's jump right in. So breaking, Pentagon Signalgate review finds Pete Hegseth violated military regulations. And I'll read it again. Pete Hegseth violated military regulations, okay? The report outlines findings of more than 8-month investigation into Hegseth's use of Signal, so that's like a chatting app, to share details of planned U.S. strikes in Yemen. And then more, the Defense Department Inspector General concluded in a report filed Tuesday that the Information Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared on a group Signal chat about a pending military operation in Yemen was considered classified, right? So we're talking about violating military regulations. And this is on top of what's going on with the Venezuela vote strike stuff. So I want to show you guys what people are saying. It's from Ted Lieu. He says, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is unfit to serve. He leaked classified information on Signal, potentially putting military pilots at risk. He then refused to cooperate with the IG, so Inspector General. He lied about a war crime and then threw Admiral Bradley under the bus. Hegseth must resign, okay? Here's more, and there's a bunch coming out on this thing, and this is just, again, one of many scandals these people are involved with. Another one from Haley Britsky. She says, messages sent from Hegseth's Signal account to the group chat, the contents of which sources previously confirmed to CNN included material from documents marked classified at the time they were sent, offered specific real-time updates about planned military strikes. They were so specific that one even read, quote, this is when the first bombs will drop. Because there's going to be a lot of discussion like, oh, the stuff on the Signal chat wasn't classified, was classified. So that's why they're giving you specific details of this. This is someone over at Fox News, what they're saying. According to sources familiar with the Inspector General report on Signalgate, the acting Pentagon Inspector General, after a months-long investigation, so I think they said 8 months, concluded Secretary Pete Hegseth, quote, created risks to operational security. In his actions, sharing operational details before the strike was complete on the commercial available app Signal. Quote, could have resulted in failed U.S. mission objectives and potential harm to U.S. pilots. So this is just the Signalgate stuff. Then when you look at what Hegseth is saying, this is doing the turtle crap, which is, the guy's weird. I'll just say that. I just don't know what else to say. I can use lots of other words about the dude. But the strange guy, everyone in the Trump mission is strange, as you guys know. And he says, for your Christmas wish list, okay. And then you got Republicans like Rand Paul asking some serious questions about the Venezuelan strikes. You got Signalgate plus the Venezuelan thing. Listen to Rand Paul here.
If they're armed, show us who they're armed. If they're not armed, explain to us why we kill people who are not armed. So we usually think of war, we think of those people taking up arms and they may kill our soldiers, so we kill them first. That's war. But these people, we haven't been told if they have arms. 2 of them they killed in the water, but 2 of them they scooped up. And did they arrest them for drugs and get drugs that were floating around in the sea? Did they look for arms? No, they just released them and said, go back to your home country, which really wasn't Venezuela. It was Colombia and Ecuador. So I think this whole thing is a terrible situation, but we as a country should not be so easygoing as to say, well, an accusation is enough. We sometimes...
So he's bringing up some good points, right? And I've mentioned this several times, you know, also you have these small boats, the Navy, I guess, is blowing them up, right? And Rand Paul's like, hey, are these boats even armed or unarmed? And I haven't seen any reports of the boats saying that they're shooting at the Navy. So, you know, theoretically, you could just stop these things, shoot out the engines, board them, show us all the evidence of what's going on, but we're just blowing it up, no survivors, no evidence. And then when, you know, the Trump people are claiming it's something to do with Venezuela, then as Rand Paul is saying, these people aren't even from Venezuela. And then, and actually he brought up also a good point where it was reported once that we had, I think, taken 2 people into custody and then released them. So what's going on with that? I mean, basically we just don't know, right? And the whole thing looks terrible all around it. I said the whole time this would be a bigger story than it is. And now it's finally becoming a massive story because with the killing of the 2 survivors on the boat, it just, everything looks bad. And this is even a Republican calling it out. So
make mistakes, even in our country, even when we're very, very careful. The DNA Innocence Project found that where people in jail in our country with full due process. Well, we made a mistake. They've been in jail for 20 years. Do we really think blowing up boats without any kind of process? We got records from the Coast Guard yesterday that we released of boats stopped off of Venezuela before we had this new policy. So we've had an interdiction policy for 100 years probably, where we interdict people on the open seas and the Coast Guard does it. The Coast Guard statistics say that of boats off Venezuela, 21% of those boats didn't have drugs. And it's amazing to listen to some of the support for this. It's like, well, 79% is pretty good. It's like, really? You'd kill 21% innocent people just because, wow, the majority of them must be drug dealers, so we're fine.
So if you listen to that, it basically is like, hey, I talked to the Coast Guard. What's the percentage of, boats that have drugs on it? And it's just like, was it 21%? So the argument you would make is like, I guess we're just going to shoot everyone because of that. But, and again, these are all near Venezuela. So there's multiple problems with this stuff. I think it's clear that, and again, we're talking about two different things, Signalgate and Venezuela, but in my opinion, I think it's clear that these boats coming from Venezuela are not an imminent threat to the USA. It's the whole thing's ridiculous. Then you've got this. Hegseth asked top admiral to resign after months of discord. Basically, this was the admiral in charge of the fleet in that region, and he was having questions about the legality of what Hegseth was doing. Here's a quote. "You're either on the team or you're not." That's from Hegseth to Halsey, again, the admiral. "When you get an order, you move out fast and don't ask questions." Okay. Here's more. "Late in the summer, as the military began striking alleged drug boats, Halsey was initially concerned about the murky legal authority for the boat strike campaign, according to former officials, with other military units under separate chains of command also involved, including elite special operation units. Halsey objected that parts of the operation fell outside his direct control, they said. So, but this is even before the boat strikes began. Hegseth and Halsey were already not getting along. So there's that. That's why you're seeing more calls for this stuff, right? So this is Ed Markley, Senator Markey saying, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War Crimes. Here's more. This is actually over on Newsmax, and this is, I guess, one of the former Fox News host people who knows Hegseth. He's even calling it out. Listen to this.
It gives me no pleasure to say what I'm about to say because I worked with Pete Hegseth for 7 or 8 years at Fox News. This is an act of a war crime, ordering survivors who the law requires be rescued instead to be murdered. There's absolutely no legal basis for it. Everybody along the line who did it, from the Secretary of Defense to the Admiral to the people who actually pulled the trigger, should be prosecuted for a war crime for killing these two people.
And who would? And that's someone from someone who knows Hegseth, worked with him over at Fox News, is calling that stuff. More breaking on MS Now. Pete Hegseth refused an interview request for the Pentagon Inspector General's investigation into Signalgate, so he wouldn't even talk to the inspector. According to two sources who read and were briefed on the report, Hegseth would not turn over his phone, a source who read the report told MS Now. I just keep shaking my head because it's so obvious this guy is awful, the Hegseth guy. Here's more. Mark Warner says, well, an independent investigation now confirms it. Hegseth endangered the lives of American pilots during Signalgate. Our service members deserve leaders who never put them at unnecessary risk. If Hegseth had a shred of decency, he'd resign. Then you also have this, someone from Reuters says, why were Pentagon reporters denied access to the briefing and the opportunity to ask Pete Hegseth questions? Because what was going on is Laura Loomer, she's tweeting, I love Pete Hegseth, everyone else is fake news, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And if you remember too, they wanted all the major news sources, right, the Pentagon reporters to basically sign the loyalty pledge. Pretty much everyone rejected it. Any notable news source, I'm just telling you the truth on this stuff. And then basically they just put in a bunch of Laura Loomers and true story, like a MyPillow guy, the Mike Lindell guy, he's got some sort of TV station or show or something. So I think they got reporters over there too. They really are MyPillow type people or Rumble type people are there at the moment. When you look at what Trump is saying, you can have a little bit of listen to this.
Mr. President, if a boat strikes, if it is found that survivors were actually killed while clinging on to that boat, should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people by the millions, actually, if you look over a few years. I think last year we lost close to 300,000 people were killed. That's not mentioning all the families. Have you seen what happens with the families of not only the people killed, the people that are trying to get.
All right, that's Trump. If you want to hear him talk the whole thing, you can. But basically, I think regarding Trump, his handlers just tell him to go out and say whatever. And so Trump's always trying to make the case and connect, or whoever under Trump, make the case to connect the whole fentanyl thing, drugs coming in from Mexico, and trying to connect that to Venezuela, which doesn't really make sense. But a lot of stuff they say doesn't make sense at all. And then a lot of it, just be frank, the guys is rooted in racism. That's just what it is. Meaning that, oh, if they look the wrong way, or if they say it's a certain country and I don't like those people, then therefore we can do anything we want. It's all ridiculous. So you're probably asking, like, okay, so why would Pete Hegseth even be in this position? Like, what's the deal with this? And I'll put it in the most simplest terms. I think they're using him as a stooge salesperson and basically military contracts to either Trump's kids. So it'd be Donnie Jr. has got like a drone company. I think Eric might be involved with that one also, or whatever buddies, like say Elon Musk wants to get these military contracts. If you listen to Hegseth talk about this stuff, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. This is what he posted just yesterday.
Business the same way we have in the past. We cannot afford to shoot down cheap drones with $2 million missiles, and we ourselves must be able to field large quantities of capable.
So what he's talking about is they want to build a whole bunch of drones, and he wants to get them as quickly as possible. And it's kind of crazy too, where he's talking about using $2 million missiles to shoot down, cheap drones. But it's kind of the same logic. If you're going to say that now, then you should be saying the same thing as, like, why are we shooting missiles at these small boats near Venezuela, right? We literally could just use a sniper, shoot out their engines or whatever, right? Or just blockade them. We're the Navy. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. But they're using him as a salesperson and like a way to get military contracts to their buddies. Listen, you'll see him talk about it.
Attack drones. In July, I stripped away regulations handicapping our adoption of small drones, shifting authorities from the resident bureaucracy to unit commanders. This was the first step in the urgent effort to boost lethality across the force. The second step is to kickstart U.S. industrial capacity and reduced prices so our military can adequately budget for unmanned weapons.
Okay, so we're talking about a couple things at one time. So one is we're talking about reducing regulations, so no one will check what they're doing, and we're talking about a lot of money moving around. Like, there'll be no watchdogs on these things. That's what removing regulations is all about. And then he's talking about, okay, so then we're going to talk about getting cheap stuff, whatever. But remember, it depends where the stuff is coming from, right? And also we're talking about using more drones, AI, robots, whatever, to effectively take people's jobs. It's like it's all fits into, if you understand the Trump administration, like Hegseth is just kind of part of that culture and that thing that they're trying to push on everyone. Listen some more here.
With help from our partners in Congress, we're going to solve this problem, starting with small attack drones. Drone Dominance is a $1 billion program funded by President Trump's Big, Beautiful Bill. It is purpose-built on the pillars of the War Department's new acquisition philosophy, a stable demand signal to expand the U.S. drone industrial base by leveraging private capital paired with flexible contracting built for commercial companies founded by our best engineers and entrepreneurs.
It's all right there, right? Hey, we're talking about money. We're talking about private companies. Let's get that money. I mean, you can literally hear the staff say it. And then when Hegseth is trying to defend himself, however you want to put it, he retweets this weird thing by this guy, Mark Lucas, and it says, I'll tell you how Hegseth is trying to defend himself here. The, quote, double tap war crimes hoax is a complete joke. I personally called in airstrikes in Afghanistan as an infantry rifle platoon leader. My battalion commander nicknamed me Bombardier 6 because I love dropping 500-pound bombs on the enemy. The military doesn't get one chance to destroy the enemy, and I guess we're celebrating bombing people is what this guy is talking about. And so there's that in itself. So I understand war, guys. I get it, right? But comparing, say, what you're doing in Afghanistan to what's going on in Venezuela, which that's why Rand Paul's point becomes really evident to be like, hey, do these people even have weapons? Are they even a threat at all? And I think that it matters, right? Because if they have no ability to, say, attack the U.S. Navy, there's no reason to just blow them up. If you don't want to do something, you could literally just stop the boats and board it. Show us all the evidence of what's going on and who these people are, and we don't have that. So it looks bad all around for Hegseth. It looks bad all around for all the Trump people, of course. And I think this I mean, he could be the first person out in the cabinet, is my opinion on this stuff. So I want to hear yours also. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you next video.